rising up off the barn. The trees. What a beautiful morning. There are actually a couple of deer over there on the hill, just past the house. But is that beautiful or what? Another morning just looking around. Brought me a nice cup of coffee. Sit out here and watch a beautiful but cloudy fall morning unfold. Plumb pretty. I love sitting around down here just looking around. Well, it's now gone from just being cloudy this morning to having a light rain falling. Very pleasant. But absolutely nothing in the fields. No turkeys, no deer, not even a fox squirrel crossing the fields. Nothing. Hunting from the Quigley is slow today. I haven't seen the first deer or turkey or coyote for that matter. Songbirds, twitty birds, and a couple of red-tailed hawks, sparrowhawk. That's about it. So, I think I'll take this long walk over there to the house. Go get me some breakfast. I think I'll go cook up a little breakfast for that good-looking woman of mine. No sense in sitting out here much longer. I can peek out the door from the house from time to time. It's just dead as a hammer today for some reason. But that's the way it goes. Talk soon. Closing up the Quigley for a little while. Oops. About knocked my rifle off here. Go to the house and get a little breakfast. Leave my rifle out here for a little while. I'll be back in a little while. be back in a little while. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's a deer up there. Let me check it out and see what it is. I just looked out. And up here above the round pen, there is a deer. Doe. I don't see any more with her anywhere. She's a good long ways up there. Even if I wanted to shoot her, which I don't. I'd not shoot her at all. Shoot any doe out here. We just don't simply have enough. Back before the blue tongue hit, we had quite a few deer around. They've just not repopulated this area right here for some reason. Anyway, there is a deer out. Two deer, no horns. Just two does up there. I'm going to the house. That one threw that tail up. Okay. Leave the Quigley for a while and go to the house. Breakfast is calling. Well, settle down for watch the fields here for a few hours. See if something shows. It has been slow. But generally, I just don't see a lot of bucks out here until the rut gets in full swing. Then once the rut gets in full swing, usually I can manage to catch a buck crossing one of these fields. Of course, that's generally during the rifle season. I can use a 7mm mag or 300 mag, and I can pretty much cover most of the farm. That's why it's called the Quigley, because of the movie Quigley, which featured long-range shooting, and this is set up where I can take some 300, 350 yard shots. That's about the maximum from where this is sitting. Anyway, so far this morning, 0. It can be a little bit exasperating or frustrating sometime during the muzzleloader season because I do choose to hunt traditional flintlock or caplock. So my range is limited to, well, I'm not going to shoot at one over 100 yards. I mean, I'd have to be almost desperate to take that shot. So mostly 50, 60 yards, which is plenty doable. Plenty doable here in the Quigley. That's the way the Quigley's situated. It's kind of in the middle of a corridor. They tend to cross going north, south, east, west, whatever. It's the way the place is made. It's just a natural place for them to come by. Of course, the Quigley's been here for years, so they don't pay attention to it to speak of. Anyway, honey bun time. This is probably an old hat to most of you. As much as I've fooled around with guns, I mean, I've been a gun nut forever. Worked on guns, customized them, done a little bit of everything. Been a real gun nut. I never heard of ballistol for some reason. Been around forever once I heard about it. Started looking. It's all-purpose oil that works good for metal, wood, and leather. It was developed by the German engineers in the military several years ago. And man, that's wonderful stuff. I don't know where it's been all my life. If you don't have ballistol or don't know anything about ballistol, look into it. It even makes a great black powder solvent. It's a water-soluble oil. You mix it with water and it makes a good black powder solvent. It's good stuff. Boy, the weather's really trying to turn here. It's been warm the past couple of days. Whew, and I got a bit of a head cold or something. It's all stopped up. But anyway, the weather's turning. It's supposed to get cold, rainy, nasty. Maybe they'll get the deer moving. They ain't been doing a lot the last couple of days. So anyway, I'm about ready to call it another afternoon in the Quigley. Well, I was feeling poorly last night, so I slept in this morning. And this is the last day of the early muzzleloader season. So when I finally did get up, and looked out the front door, there were several deer standing right there, 20 yards in front of the Quigley. That's how it goes. Well, I decided to come back out here to the Quigley for the last hour and a half or so of daylight. Poor boy, still here waiting. There's so many doggone ladybugs. I stuck me a little piece of paper towel in the muzzle to keep the things from muzzle from getting filled up with ladybugs. I've been over back at the house most of the day. About half the time when I'd look out the door or window, there'd be a couple of deer out here in the field. No horns. Now that I'm back out here in the Quigley, actually might say, actually hunting, legitimately hunting. I don't see anything. But the old man's back in the Quigley. I'm out here for a couple hours on what I reckon's the last day of the early muzzleloader season. Some kind of a bug has done its best to get a hold of me. So I hadn't felt all that great. So I hadn't done a lot of I hadn't done any serious hunting really speak of this year. But anyway, come out here for a couple hours. My two regular little does are up here on the hill. Haven't seen anything else today. I was in hopes of deer moving around a fair amount today, but that hasn't happened so far. But I said something earlier that I said I'd never did anything to try to have deer on the farm. Well, that's true in one sense and not true in another. When we first bought the farm, we had a Virginia wildlife biologist come out here and discussed everything if you wanted to manage it for wildlife and this, that, and the other. To manage it for wildlife was very expensive and no real benefit to it other than you got some wildlife. But we needed the farm to kind of pay for itself, you know, at least pay for itself. So anyway, he looked around and he said, you know, all these things that you could do, which back then, now 20-some years ago, 25 years, whatever it was, he said, that cost you $5,000 an acre to manage the place strictly for wildlife, for deer. He said, but he looked around and he said, you've got the best deer attractor that you can get, which is clover. He said, you just don't have much of it. And we didn't. We just had a little patch here, a little patch there. He said, that is the number one deer attractor. He said, you can go and plant and do all kinds of other things. He said, but that's the number one attractor. He said, yeah, you can augment it with all these other things, and that's good. He said, but as long as you got clover, you have a really good deer attractor. Well, for quite a few years, this was a horse farm. And horses and clover don't get along all that good together. So we tried to minimize the amount of clover. Tried to keep a couple of little places that up next to the woods, like what's up there at the top right now. Places like that, there's a couple of places that we tried to keep some clover in. And particularly places that horses don't like to get up on steeper places, so we try to get the clover up on the steeper places, and horses kind of avoid it. So we had sort of a balance there. Then about 5 years ago, we got out of the horse business and got into seasonal cattle. It runs seasonal cattle. Spring and summer, we pretty much graze cattle spring and summer. Then the fall and winter, kind of let the place rest. Well, cattle get along just fine with clover. So we've done enhancement, you know, planting clover seed and a little fertilizer, first one thing, another, lime and what have you, to try to get a better balance of clover. You don't want a whole lot of clover because it's not super durable. So anyway, we've got got some pretty good clover, and that's what attract the deer. But that too is somewhat seasonal. In the middle of the winter, right after December, they get off the clover. The neighbor across the hill over here, he plants a lot of rye in the winter where he has crop fields. He plants the rye. Man, those rye fields be full of deer. They get off this clover when it gets frostbit pretty good. They get on the rye. But anyway, I want to clear that up, that we do try to maintain a decent clover crop. And that does help, I think. But primarily, it's an ambush situation. You sit out here and right where the Quigley sits, it's a lot of deer cross through here. Like this morning when I looked out the door, there were several deer right here at the Quigley. I could about spit on them. But I was standing back there and looking out the front door in my underwear and a pair of binoculars. So that's the way that goes. Anyway, I'm going to close out the last day of the early muzzleloader season, and then hopefully get back out here tomorrow morning feeling better and get out here with a long range rifle. Something that if he crosses way up there or way over here or something, you can get him. So my prime time are the 2 weeks of general rifle season, general firearm season. And I will try to spend lots and lots of time out here during that time, because that is my prime time to really try and come up with a couple of deer or a decent deer. I've already got my $1, so all I need is one to fill my quota, to make my quota, my freezer quota. All my freezer needs 2. Both of them made into a heavy percentage of sausage, and then a few choice cuts. So 2 deer is sufficient for my wife and I, because we also have beef and elk and turkey and lots of fish. The only meats that we ever buy, I guess, a little bit of bacon, maybe some chicken once in a great while, and that's it. Check in later. Just checking. Just staying in practice is what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Up to about 75 yards or so. I mean, I could shoot at them up there. That's 300 yards. That ain't doing no good. 50, 60 yards. Nice deer might push it to 75. Yep, it would be nice. I mean, once the rut comes on, bucks just kind of come out of the woodwork. And virtually every buck that I shoot on this farm and have shot over the past 20-some years, I shoot him first time I see him. If I pass on him, he's safe. the rest of the season. But usually it just passer throughs that I shoot. But this year, back during the archery season, which I didn't hunt, but you see them out here in the field. I actually saw several young bucks. I thought, man, that's unusual. No, they were young bucks, but they were out here roaming around the fields. Sometimes they'd be with a couple of the does, and other times they'd be off by themselves. But anyway, I saw several young bucks during the archery season, which was unusual. At the very beginning, or at the first very part of muzzleloader season, I caught a good buck, good 8-pointer crossing the fields, and I managed to get him. Didn't get him on any kind of camera or anything, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, even though I was determined, I wanted to. Things happen quick and fast, and caught you flat-footed, and no cameras or whatever. Anyway, but other than that, all the way through the rest of the muzzleloader season, I've watched these fields. I've basically seen 2 does. They come out in the same place every day, just about, feed up in the same area and wander off in the same direction. Mostly that's what I see. I did not come to the Quigley this morning because I was feeling under the weather myself, and there's several deer standing right here in front of me. From the house, I couldn't see what I would consider to be a shooter buck at all, but had I been here in the Quigley, where I could just about spit on him, may have been, and from the house, you can't see. There's blind areas right here at the Quigley that you can't see from the house. I mean, there could be a herd of deer standing practically against the Quigley, and you couldn't see them from the house, the way the land lays. But I could see several deer. Whether there was a shooter buck in there, I don't know. But rifle season opens tomorrow. And during that rifle season, usually when I see the bucks, when I catch a buck, you're likely to catch a buck crossing these fields. So I will have to pay my dues the next couple of weeks or so. I'll be out here as much as I possibly can. If I might go up to the mountains and hunt for a couple of days, just to be with some of your friends up there. I might do that. But right now, I'm going to hang around in the next few minutes and watch the muzzleloader season come to a close. It's been a different muzzleloader season. It's been entirely different. But I have got me a decent buck. And I've got I got some good sausage and some good back straps. I'll enjoy him all winter. For right now, let's just watch the day come to a close. It's really a lot darker out there than it looks in this camera. There's only a few more minutes of shooting light left, so I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. I mean, if you're the kind of a hunter that has to have in-your-face action, seeing lots of deer every day, and all that sort of thing, then you would not have enjoyed the season that I've had. But if you can appreciate life and having good health, especially if you're anywhere near my age, which is 78 years old. Basically having really good health. Blessed enough to, if you're blessed enough to be able to just enjoy the hunt, the privilege of just being out in the fields and the woods. If you can enjoy what you see, what you feel, and appreciate what nature gives you, whatever that is. If she gives you a buck, fine. If she don't, come back next time. But this year has been different. It's actually been the most beautiful fall I think I've ever seen. I mean, I can't believe how colorful the woods still are. Man, it's approaching the middle of November. That's different. And thank goodness, like I said, I do have a good buck in the freezer. The regular general firearm season opens tomorrow. Even though I haven't seen but one good buck so far this year, I got high hopes of catching another rascal trying to sneak across these fields. Anyway, we'll close down the 2021 early muzzleloader season. I'll be back for the later muzzleloader season. Particularly if for what reason or another, I don't get another buck during the general firearm season. If I don't get one then, I'll definitely be back during the late muzzleloader. But hopefully I'll get one during the rifle season. I'll like to get back to doing some winter striper fishing on the lake. It don't get a whole lot much more fun than that. But anyway, 2021 early muzzleloader season is about to wrap up.